This time, we'll explain karma from a spiritual perspective. Your guide is Miracle Motchie. Karma, a universal law known from the enlightenment of Buddha, has not been scientifically proven. However, there is a way to negate this karma. This method is astonishing, and may even be able to resolve bad karma that has already occurred.
However, it's not something everyone can do. This time, we will explain this method of negating karma in detail. Please watch until the end.
A person's character grows through karma. Karma, or cause and effect, is a universal law, not scientifically proven, that states that good deeds bring good rewards and bad deeds bring bad rewards. This law was learned by Siddhartha Gautama, the founder of Buddhism, upon attaining enlightenment. It is believed that Siddhartha attained enlightenment by connecting to the Akashic records, which contain 3.8 billion years of information from the creation of the universe, through meditation, and gaining knowledge of everything. For more information on the Akashic records, please see the previous video, Neuroencoding 3. Unless something extraordinary happens, people will not stop what they are currently doing. In other words, it can be inferred that cause and effect exists to guide us from an imperfect being to a more complete being by making us realize our mistakes through unpleasant experiences, correcting those mistakes through self-awareness, and thus further developing our character. What is the law that can cancel karma? In the readings of Edgar Cayce, an American known for his ability to learn about past lives in a trance state, karma can be cancelled through the law of grace. Karma, debt from past actions, is resolved through forgiveness and acts of love, and through the love, grace, of God and the universe, it is possible to escape the original painful consequences. Edgar Cayce proposed the law of grace, in which a deep understanding of the soul and a transformation of consciousness can cancel centuries of karma in an instant. This law of grace is a miraculous intervention that allows you to shortcut the suffering process of karma through selfless service without expecting anything in return, and a transformation of consciousness. Eliminating current karma. According to Edgar Cayce's readings,
the following are specific examples of phenomena that have already occurred being eliminated or changed. Edgar Cayce's readings describe 3 cases are as follows.
A man born with a leg disability due to karma from having hurt others in the past. Through deep meditation and introspection, he fundamentally transformed his consciousness from the one who hurts to the one who heals, resulting in a recovery of his leg in a way that modern medicine cannot explain. There is also an example where a harsh experience from childhood and the resulting negative cycle, deterioration of relationships, stopped the moment of reaching genuine, true forgiveness, and relationships that seemed irreparable began to harmonize. There is a case where the karmic burden of alcohol addiction that had continued for generations was broken when one person understood its root cause, the pain of their ancestors, and transformed it into light, freeing not only that person but also their children, siblings, and even their living father from addiction. How to activate the law of grace.
The specific steps to activate this law of grace and resolve karma can be summarized into the following 4 actions.
1. Setting a spiritual ideal.
What Cayce emphasized most was clarifying your spiritual ideal in life.
Write down your inner guidelines on paper. How do I want to be, being? Examples: unconditional love, patience, honesty, being an instrument of peace. When doubts or difficulties arise, always ask yourself, does this choice align with my spiritual ideal? This is an important conscious action that transforms your consciousness from karma, self-centered motive, to grace, divinity, universal motive. 2. Service to others. The core of Cayce's teachings is that giving to others is giving to yourself. Without expecting anything in return, take action to help the person in front of you. It doesn't have to be a grand volunteer effort. Continue to sow small seeds of kindness, such as greeting with a smile, listening to them, and sincerely wishing for their success. The law of grace is activated when you strive to live for the greater good, beyond your own self-interest. The energy of helping others offsets your own past debts, karma. 3. The practice of forgiveness. The most powerful binding forces of karma are resentment and self-criticism. Strive to understand those who hurt you as souls also on a learning journey. Instead of continuing to regret past mistakes, acknowledge the lessons you learned from them and let them go. Forgiveness is the only scissors that can break the chain of karma. When you forgive someone, the universe, in turn, releases you from past karma through grace. 4. Attunement through prayer and meditation. To receive grace, you need to raise your own vibrational frequency and connect with a higher source. Have a time of silence at a set time each day and feel your connection with divinity, or the source of the universe. With a humble attitude of, may your will be done, not my will, surrender yourself to guidance. As the ego quiets through meditation, karmic memories are purified, and the light of grace becomes more easily absorbed. The law of grace is not merely an escape route. It is also a mirror law. The amount of compassion you show to others is equal to the amount of compassion you receive from the universe. Instead of lamenting your current situation with, why am I going through this? The moment you re-examine it with, how can I express love through this situation? The law of grace begins to work. On the other hand, Edgar Cayce emphasized that this cannot be activated by mere empty words of forgiveness or escapism from suffering, but rather requires deep understanding at the cellular level and self-transformation. Activating grace in response to bullying and harassment.
This section explains particularly important points regarding bullying at school, harassment in neighborhood disputes, or sexual harassment, power harassment, and moral harassment in the workplace. Based on Edgar Cayce's teachings, the following internal revolution is considered necessary.
1. The resolve to graduate from the position of victim. The first step in activating the law of grace is to change the question, why are they attacking me, into the active question, what is my soul trying to achieve from this harsh situation? According to Cayce, external enemies are a mirror of inner fears and past debts. As long as you continue to define the other person as the perpetrator, the energy remains in the court of karma, the cause and effect loop. Diving into the abyss of your own consciousness and asking, what lesson of the soul is this phenomenon trying to teach me, is the gateway to grace. 2. The energy of preemptive forgiveness and blessing. The most powerful and most difficult practice, as described in Cayce's readings, is blessing the person who is hurting you, or whom you feel is hurting you.
The act of blessing someone who is harassing you is a skill that only a person of mature character can perform, and it is not something everyone can do. Therefore, it is best not to naively believe that the law of grace is a karmic salvation that anyone can achieve. If anyone could do it, the law of karma, which aims to make people realize their mistakes and encourage reflection, would lose its meaning. If people truly understood that the bullying and harassment they inflict will, sooner or later, all come back to them, they would never engage in such behavior.
However, those who bully and harass others never believe in karma, cause and effect. Karma is a universal law that has not been scientifically proven, and it acts on everyone, regardless of their subjective beliefs, whether they believe or not. An important aspect of this transformation of consciousness is not to react with the same frequency, anger or fear, to the negative energy directed at you in the form of bullying or harassment, but to radiate the exact opposite frequency, compassion and peace. Every day, send a heartfelt prayer, not just words, but from the bottom of your heart, to those who bully or harass you, saying, may they awaken to the truth and find peace of mind. This triggers a reverse flow of karma. When you can fix your own reaction to love, regardless of the other person's actions, it is said that the soul's learning is considered complete, and the need for the phenomenon disappears, the activation of grace. 3. Caring for your practical vessel, grounding. Grace also requires us to make sound judgments in this physical dimension. The law of grace also works through how we treat ourselves with care. First, accurately assess your physical and mental health, and maintain physical and psychological distance from those who bully or harass you. If you are in a situation where you cannot escape, limit your involvement to the bare minimum. The spiritual meaning of bullying and harassment. Experiencing persistent bullying and harassment is extremely draining mentally.
But from a spiritual perspective, it is often seen as a sign of soul growth or energy shift. It is thought to mainly include the following 5 meanings.
1. A backlash before a stage change. At major turning points in life, or just before one's level of consciousness, vibration, rises, old energies may try to hold back, causing friction. This is also called a test, and it is a phenomenon to check whether one is ready to move on to a new stage. 2. Energy mismatch and friction. As one's inner self changes, the frequencies that were previously in harmony with those around them become misaligned, which can manifest as strong discomfort or aggression. It is similar to temporary noise, like when a TV channel changes. 3. Establishment of boundaries. It can be a process of learning to respect yourself and have the strength to firmly say no to things you don't need. It can also be seen as an opportunity to acquire skills to protect yourself from being invaded by the energy of others. 4. Karma resolution, purification. Some believe this is a process of settling energetic debts carried over from the past and purifying the soul. It is believed that by overcoming this trial, the purity of the soul increases, and one moves closer to becoming a freer being.
Finding spiritual meaning can be an inner support, but ensuring practical safety is even more important. If the harassment is illegal or you feel your life is in danger, prioritize practical measures such as creating physical distance or consulting a professional organization.
5. Your vibration hasn't changed. The fundamental reason why unpleasant people in unfortunate situations don't disappear even after practicing karma resolution is that your own vibration resonates with theirs. Unpleasant people may be reflecting unresolved emotions within yourself, such as anger, fear, and self-doubt. By maintaining an unwavering, immovable spirit in any situation and filling yourself with high vibrations, you will no longer resonate with people who have heavy, dark vibrations, and they will naturally drift away. Furthermore, excessive victim mentality creates a vicious cycle that attracts even more unpleasant people and situations. Change your self-image, imagine yourself surrounded by understanding and friendly people, and let go of victim mentality. Karma's price is paid later. According to psychologist and travel writer Kobayashi Seikan, the phenomenon where unpleasant or shocking events appear as signs of future good fortune is called prepayment of the price. However, in the case of karma, while one might immediately feel happiness, such as a sense of superiority over the person who hurt them, the price for that mistake is paid later. In other words, to borrow the words of Japanese travel writer and psychologist Kobayashi Seikan, karma is a price that is paid later. This is similar to eating and drinking on credit. The more you bully or harass others thinking, I can drink as much as I want and pay as much as I want, the more terrible consequences you will face later. Furthermore, because cause and effect unfolds quietly and without warning, people often escalate bullying and harassment based on their emotions. However, when karma actually appears, it is like being thrown from the height of bliss to the depths of despair. When nothing happens, you might feel enveloped in the greatest sense of happiness, but often, by then it's too late. And there's no turning back. For more information on the appearance of karma, please watch our previous video, How to Appear Cause and Effect. When bullying and harassment occur within a group, with all perpetrators targeting one person and no one trying to stop it, for example, like the Japanese Kintaro aim, candy, where every cross-section has the same face, this indicates that cause and effect is deepening, and it's a sign that karma will be fulfilled in the near future. In particular, if a group member dies unexpectedly, it can be said that in addition to the retribution of karma, divine punishment will also befall the other member. For more information on the difference between karmic retribution and divine punishment, please watch our previous video, Understanding the Difference Between Karma and Punishment. Secrets of Buddhism and Spirituality. Lack of understanding and indifference are also subject to karma. From the perspective of Edgar Cayce's readings and spiritual truths, karma is not simply about physical actions, but rather a law of energy generated by the state of mind, direction of consciousness, itself. We tend to think that karma doesn't accumulate unless we do bad things, but in reality, inaction and indifference, that is, not doing what should be done, and not seeking knowledge, are powerful sources of karma that hinder the growth of the soul. Cayce explains the specific reasons from the following three perspectives. 1. The sin of negligence in many religions and spiritual philosophies. Wrongdoing, positive mistakes, is called the sin of action, and not doing good deeds is called the sin of negligence.
The universe constantly seeks circulation and growth. Being indifferent to the suffering and truth before us means stopping the circulation of life energy.
Turning away from situations where you could have helped someone, or situations where you should have learned the truth, is nothing less than rejecting a learning opportunity that your soul had pre-planned. This unfinished task will be carried over to the next opportunity, or the next life in a different form. 2. Karma of misunderstanding, will to not know. Cayce valued the adage, ignorance is a sin. Here, ignorance is not merely a lack of knowledge. It refers to the will to refuse to know the truth or the suffering of others. The essence of karma lies in the sense of separation, that is, the belief that I and others are separate beings. Indifference or misunderstanding, such as "it's none of my business," thickens this wall of separation and hinders the integration, oneness of the soul. Ultimately, indifference is the flip side of self-love, that is, an expression of the desire to protect only one's own comfortable world. This closed consciousness itself later becomes the seed that attracts environments where one feels misunderstood by everyone, and unable to accept help. 3. The vibration of coldness. In spiritual growth, it is sometimes said that the most dangerous thing to be wary of is not hatred, but coldness, indifference. The Bible, Book of Revelation, says, "Neither hot nor cold, but lukewarm, so it is spat out." Indifference is a stagnant state where the soul's vibrational frequency is extremely low.
We are sent into this world as co-creators, but being indifferent to our surroundings is a state of abandoning participation in the creative process.
To resolve this energy stagnation, the universe often tries to awaken our consciousness by giving us shocks, difficult situations. Even if it's something you're not directly involved in, imagining, what would happen if I were in the same situation, or what kind of suffering or joy lies behind this, is a powerful spiritual exercise for overcoming indifference.
When you gain truth or knowledge, thinking about how you can give it back to the whole, rather than keeping it to yourself, is key to activating the law of grace. Breaking down the wall of the heart, that is indifference, may, in some ways, be a more difficult challenge than suppressing anger.
Never tell malicious people about your karma. You should never explain to psychopaths with personality disorders or selfish narcissists, for example, that the unpleasant situation I'm experiencing now is due to my karma. This is because, to those who harbor ill will towards you, your virtuous introspection will only provide a convenient excuse to attack you further. They will justify their harassment by saying, "See? It's your fault you're suffering this way," and as a result, the attacks and emotional abuse will only intensify. Your soul's learning is a sacred dialogue between you and higher dimensional beings, and not something to be judged by malicious others. Here's a very important point to note. That is, blaming yourself and resolving karma are different things. Knowing that something is due to your karma is never the same as blaming yourself and thinking, "I must endure it because it's my fault." People with high spiritual sensitivity tend to endure unreasonable violence, thinking, "This is also my karma," but that's not resolving karma. It's simply self-abuse, and you end up contributing to the other person's wrongdoing. Resolving karma means breaking free from the resonance of vibrations with the victim and I am no longer at a stage where I can receive this unjust treatment, and drawing a firm boundary. This transformation of consciousness is what matters. Furthermore, when consulting with professional organizations such as the police as a practical measure, there is one important point to keep in mind. That is, if you consult with the police without objective evidence, you may be misunderstood as having delusions of reference, that is, you are connecting surrounding events to yourself and may be urged to see a psychiatrist. The police are an organization that operates only on irrefutable evidence. If you do consult with them, be sure to gather visible evidence, such as the date and time of the harassment, the content, and audio or video recordings. You do not need to be hurt by secondary victimization by consulting them unprepared. And ignoring the malice of someone who is harassing you is by no means cold-heartedness. Earlier in Chapter 8, I mentioned that misunderstanding and indifference are subject to karma. However, closing your mind to a malicious attacker and completely ignoring them, both physically and psychologically, does not constitute indifference in this context. Resolute indifference to protect your sanctuary, mind and body, from a harmful presence is a legitimate form of self-defense for the soul. Rather, letting go of attachment to the other person and cutting off their energy supply can be seen as a form of inverse compassion, preventing them from accumulating any more bad karma. Not revealing your secrets is a way of protecting yourself. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel before you forget. Furthermore, clicking the bell icon will notify you when a new video is released, so you won't miss the latest videos and can enjoy your favorites. Despite suffering from poor health and a lack of food, I'm striving to post once a week to improve the quality of my videos. If you have any topics you'd like Miracle Motchie to investigate or topics you'd like me to make a video about, please write them in the comments section. I will indicate whether or not your suggestion is adopted by publishing a video about it. Thank you for watching until the very end. See you again in the next video.